Hello and welcome to Knowledge Cloud. This is CMC for Python lists, and this is the second part. And in the first part, I think I have given a brief introduction on lists. Right now, we'll directly jump into methods or functions of lists. This is very important. So, for the example purpose, I choose a list universal throughout this video, which will work on further. So as you can see, it contains 4 elements. Okay, let's get started with method 1. Method 1 is length method. So length is an method provided for lists. It is very easy and you can easily get the length of the list. That means that how many elements are present in the list. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can get the using the function len. It's quite simple. And method 2, that is adding element. Adding element is not difficult in lists. As you can see, we have this list already, A15729, and I would like to add an element to the list. So adding an element with the operation of append is very easy. Simply you have to pass the element which has to be added to the list. So appending, as the name suggests, it default adds to the end of the list. So you can see 6 is added to the end of the list. And next method is finding element in the list. Finding element, that means to say if you are searching for certain element or a specific element in the list, you have to use a function which is inbuilt already, and it is very easy to find. Instead of using any search options or search logic, it is very easy. Passing the element you want to find, you can provide it as a parameter to this function. So as you can see, index 6 I have provided and the output is 4. 4 is nothing but the index value where 6 is residing. Let's move on to the next method. Next method is inserting elements at specific position. Right now we saw appending the element which defaultly adds to the end of the list. So we have another option called insert, which inserts to a specific location where you can provide the index and insert it wherever you want. The syntax is insert, in the braces you have index and the element. So first is index and second is element. So this is a syntax a1.insert 2, 5. That means that 2 is the index and 5 is the value. So at the third position, I'm adding the element 5. As you can see, the updated list, you have the 5 element in the third position. That's how it is, very simple. Okay, let's move on for the next method. Next method is counting the occurrences of an element. For example, you have multiple elements in the list and you want to count the occurrences. So right now we have the element 5 twice. So you just have to provide the element which has to be counted. Once I pass the value or the element, the count will be returned. In this case, we have 2 occurrences. You can see that 2 is returned. So let's move on. The next method we are discussing is removing an element from the list. Okay, removing specific element is very easy. As you might have already expected, remove is a keyword, and if you provide any specific element, that will be removed from the list. For this example, I used to remove the element 2, so hence it is removed. Next method is reversing elements in the list. That is, if you want to reverse the whole list, you don't have to use for loop. It is very easy, of course. It is just a reverse function. As you can see, the whole list has been reversed. Next method is sorting elements of the list. Often sorting involves complex logic, but we have a very easy method. So by default, it does ascending order, But it's very easy. As you can see, dot sort method is used to sort in ascending order. If I just use a1 dot sort, the whole list is been sorted. And for having descending order sorting, I have an option. I can reverse it so that it's in descending order. As simple as it is. And it is also valid for lists with strings. For example, I have taken this string which has variable length string and also some mixed characters. So even that can be sorted. Next method is pop. Pop method is popping an element from the list. As if you are aware with the stack, you will know what is pop. Pop is nothing but getting an element out of the list. And it is default that it takes the last element. So in the list we had 5 in the last, so it was popped out. So if you want to pop a specific element from the list, that is also possible. I illustrated by popping the element index 1, that is 7 is popped out. And now we'll go to method 10. This is extending list. If you want to add some more elements to the list, you cannot use insert statements again and again. It becomes redundant. So we have an extend option. So for the illustration purpose, I choose another list which has 4 elements. And for extending, you have to provide the list inside the extend function so that that will be added to the list. And you can note that it will be added to the end of the list. Till now we discussed all the methods which are very important to work on list. These methods were very basic and very necessary to access and use lists. I hope you could understand all of them, and you should practice all these things to understand more. Since there is a time constraint, I could not record the videos with long duration, so hope you can understand that. So but I'm providing you one of the applications of the list, that is with the GUI, and also the methods of the list have been illustrated with another example.
I mean to say, I'm giving you an example of how lists can be used for GUI purpose, which is a sole need of our course in Coursera. Well, in this example, I've made a simple image viewer which has buttons and canvas, and also I've defined image elements. Don't worry about it, but I'm concentrating on lists here. So as you can see, I have defined a list li which has a lot of elements here. You can see that. Yep, there is not a lot of elements. It is long list. Yes, of course, each element is a link. As you can see, I've put a link of my Picasa album to demonstrate this example. So before I get into this example, let's run this. I'll just show you how the whole thing works. Oh, happy Halloween. So this is the image by default got displayed on the canvas, and I have two buttons. One is I am lucky random, and other one is next sequence. So those buttons are self-explanatory. Now the thing is what I have made used in the list. I've defined a list li which contains the links of some of the images I have used. So there are 4 to 5 images from my Picasso album. I just put the links in this list. And I have few global variables such as image, list, width and height. So this image has a default value of the first location. As you can see, it is the default value. When you run this application, you get the first image, which is to be default. And I've imported simple GUI and random, which is very necessary. Take you from here, frame.start. Like the frame, I have the given image viewer version 1.0, and the width is 300 by width and height is 300 by 300. And I have 2 buttons, CH button 1 and CH button 2. So these buttons link to the corresponding functions. Let's go to the function because I'm not going to explain the GUI or the image right now because the concentration is on list. First, when you go to the first button, that is change. This function has a very easy function of list, that is I have just put the index. I've just put a statement inside the index which gonna decide the index. So instead of giving numbers as I showed you in the example, I've used random function. Random.randint 0, length of list -1. Why I have done length of list -1? Because the length of list is always the count of elements. And as you know, a list starts from 0. Hence, a length of list according to the index would be lesser than 1. Right? So I've used -1 here, and random is going to decide from 0 to the length of the list -1. In this case, if I've used 5 images, then the length would be 4. So 0 to 4. So each time when you click on this button, it's going to generate a random number from 0 to 4. Hence, you can get the random images. So I've covered one of the methods of list. Next, we have another button which decides which image to be displayed in sequence. So how that works? Here we have used a local variable I, which will contain the index value of the image. So for the first time, we have to know which image is being displayed. So I've used index and provided img inside it, which is going to find out the index of the present image, and it will be stored in the local variable I. And I use a small function or a mathematical calculation to find out the next image. I plus 1 will bring the next element. But why I have used the modulus function here? That's only reason because when I am in the last image of the list, and if I increment by 1, and next it's going to be error. Why? Because the 6th element does not exist in the list. We have only 5 elements. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. List of 5 means that index error. So I have used modulus function with the length of I. So as you know, modulus function will bring up the clockwise or anti-clockwise numbers. So we have got this function to determine the index of the list. Using this, we will get the next image in the sequence. So hope you got it. The list application and usage and application is enormous. It depends on how do you use. This is an example, but with your creativity, you can use it to anything. So I conclude this video by saying that sky is the limit to use the list. So list is super and it's easy. I hope you have got all the aspects which I've told. You can practice it and enjoy. Thank you, CMC, for Knowledge Club.